Hi guys, I'm back here today with another house building challenge. This one's the tiny home challenge. So we get 25 tiles to build in, and then we get an additional 75 tiles to do any landscaping we wish. So thought I'd give it a try. Of course it's gotten a lot easier now tiny living's out, but it is what it is. So I've just done a basic 5x5 square here, making use of the mini fridge from university to try and build a small kitchen. So it's just a bit of rearranging at the moment, trying to make it look right. Needed a bit of move objects to sandwich everything together, try to maximise as much space as possible, including using a dishwasher. And of course, because it's there, why not? I've ended up using a Murphy bed. So the bedroom and living space can be combined together as one. And then I was trying to figure out how I was going to do the bathroom, because I've done a bathroom before which was only one tile big, but it was on a diagonal and I couldn't quite get a diagonal to work on this. So I was just playing around, because technically doors need 2 tiles to work. So here you can see I was just doing a bit of play testing to see if I could get away with the door opening outwards, but even so apparently there's not enough space, so I just ended up compromising and making it a 2-tile bathroom. Speaking of, this entire build has been play tested and it does all work, so there's no need to worry about that. So having figured out roughly what the layout of the bathroom is going to be, just a shower and a toilet. At the moment I've not bothered with the sink. Just trying to figure out then how I'm going to do a living room, because I want to do a living room / dining room. So I thought, maybe I could put 3 seats around this table. Then I realised that the Murphy bed will then not be able to open because the 3rd chair was in the way of the bed. Then put a little TV above it. That one is from Get to Work, but there is I think 2 other types of wall-mounted TVs. It's just I wanted small house, small TV, everything's a bit small. That's the kind of idea I was going for. And then obviously I want to try and keep things light, because the lighter the colours, the bigger it seems, and when you're doing an absolutely tiny house, you want to try and keep things light, so you don't feel as pressed in by the walls. Now I'm thinking, maybe I'll try and do a kitchen sink. I thought, looks like I can put it above the I could put the sink in the sink cabinet as a dishwasher, which logically I was thinking, it Sims logic, because that wouldn't necessarily work in real life, and then I realised when I went to play test it that doesn't work at all. So I had to give up my idea of a kitchen sink, unless I wanted to compromise for space elsewhere. So after the kitchen sink I thought, okay, hardwood floors, it's not that great with feet. Like, I don't know about you, but getting out of bed in the morning and not having something soft and warm to put my feet on I just don't like it. It's kind of a bit of damp getting out, so I thought, okay, I put some rugs in. Rugs are always nice, and again it breaks up the floor, makes it feel a little bit less small. So now I thought, what if I saw how little space I'd use, so I thought I'll shrink it down. So instead of doing a 5x5 house, my original idea, I ended up trying to do a 4x4. And I thought, well, let's put a bit of a sink in, make a bit of a cloakroom. Of course I don't have the physical room to necessarily make an actual room for a cloakroom, but I can still put in place some hats and coats. Thought, hang on, how are they going to get dressed in the morning? So need to put in a dresser. So now really it's just the little odds and ends that make a house a home that I'm trying to put in, which was actually a bigger challenge than trying to figure out how to arrange everything, because honestly there's so little space. I don't know if you just saw there with the doors being weird, that's just from briefly when I was playtesting. And it's not actually an issue. I lived in a house where the front door did that to my bedroom door. And although it's actually mildly infuriating, realistically you can still get out of that door without running over whoever's coming through the front door. But I'm not sure how that's going to play out too much in The Sims if you have more than one sim, say one coming out the bathroom, one coming in through the front door at the same time. Here I'm just trying to figure out how I want to try and do the garden. And I'm giving up on that temporarily when I realised I'd forgotten to put windows. These ones are from Eco Lifestyle. And originally when I saw the pack and I saw these windows, I wasn't that keen on them. But I think they work for this build. They're just a bit modern, they're a bit quirky. And that eventually just ended up being the kind of design I was going for rather than a more traditional house. I'm still not sure what to do with that triangular window, but hey, I'm getting there. So yeah, now it's just playing around the windows, trying to figure out where I should have the light coming in, moving around the fire alarm and the thermostat, because you don't want those floating in midair in front of your windows, to be honest. And then with the addition of windows, I realised you probably want to have curtains. So I was just trying to figure out how I was going to do the curtains for them. I actually quite like these ones that came with Eco Lifestyle. So I put those in and I was trying to figure out a blind to do for the kitchen. I ran into the same issue I ran into with the last build, that there's just no good blinds that go 3 across. So I ended up giving up with the kitchen in all honesty. And then here I am trying to figure out how to do more decorations, because even so the walls are a bit plain, it's all just a bit sparse, a bit Spartan. And of course with such a house you do want to keep it quite clear and tidy, but at the same time you still want a bit of decoration to make it less of, say, a show home and more of an actual home. And I realised that those curtains were glitching through the chair, so I had to swap them out for a smaller one, which really is of no consequence. And I just came back outside to try and figure out how I was going to do the landscaping, but it was actually giving me quite a bit of grief. So I knew roughly what I wanted to do. You saw earlier I put out a footprint, but I still wasn't sure how I was going to implement that. So you notice I keep popping back inside to add little odds and ends. Please excuse the scratching, by the way, the cat's climbing up the back of the chair. Just putting little odds and ends, but obviously time ran out and eventually had to realise I've got to do something about the exterior because it's just too plain. So I'm just trying out different plants here, trying to see what fits, what breaks up the solid colour of the wall, and see how I'm putting out some columns, because I want to do a kind of porch layout, porch area. This is something I really wish they'd implemented when they put in the ability to freely move doors and windows. I wish they'd added in the ability to freely move columns as well. Oh my gosh, sorry, that cat is, the cat's decided that she's going to play with a pen on the desk next to me, so please excuse the background noise. Anyway, yeah, free movement of columns, because I don't know if any of you noticed, but when you put a column up and then you try and put, say, a flat roof over it, the column always pokes out the corner. And it doesn't sit right with me. But then when you try and put the columns more central, it doesn't feel like they should be supporting it correctly. It feels like the roof shouldn't be overhanging off the edges, and it's a whole mess. It's why I generally try not to do anything with porches. You can see here I realised if I put some trim round, it actually made the columns fit properly. And I was trying to put a fence round so it didn't look so stupid. Originally I tried half walls, realised that the top of them cut through the columns and it didn't look right, and there's no way to remove the top of the half walls. And then I remembered you've got a half wall looking fence that came with Eco Lifestyle, which I think is what I've ended up using here, but then I had to change the columns to match, and you know, whole fiasco. But then it's all too blocky, too grey, so I'm trying to put some plants in to add a bit of colour. So I find these thistle bushes, I can't think what pack they came from right now, which I think look quite nice as just a little small bit of shrubbery out the front. But there's not really, I don't think there's actually anything else of that sort of size and style aside from the thistle bushes. So I was playing, because I wanted to do maybe some different colours or something, but as you can see here, I was playing around with loads of different shrubs, trying to figure out what to do, and nothing looked right at all. Because of course that was also slightly longer, which doesn't help. Still pulled out some lavender and just lots of different shrubs. I just gave up really at that point and decided to put in some little lanterns to mark the entrance, so if say your Sim's coming home at night after drinking too much juice, they don't walk straight into the door or wall. And then little footpath up the front. In hindsight, I probably should have extended that footpath all the way to the the pavement at the edge of the lot. But what's done is done. You can do that if you so wish. I ended up giving up completely on trying to find a different plant for the front and just repeated the thistles, but actually worked out surprisingly well. Then again here I'm trying to break up the solidness of the wall by adding some ivy. That back wall was too plain. I wanted to add something to it because I couldn't, with the way that the layout was on the interior, I couldn't put a window there. But then you can see here I'm playing around with what are they called? Flower planters. It doesn't look right, especially with the overhang, so in all honesty, I just ended up compromising and putting a hose there. This is an imaginary. I suppose that's where you can water the garden from. You can see here I really want to put these flower planters in, but they just didn't fit anywhere. And then I'm back again trying to obscure the fence a bit more so it's not so blocky, not so grey. Got a nice row of lavender plants down that side. And then I was trying to figure out a different bush to do down this side so you have a mix of plants. Because definitely around here we tend to have a fair few different plants going on for borders. So I found these bushes from Island Living that worked quite well. Then I realised it didn't quite fit the length when I shrunk them down, so I wanted to try and find something else of a similar design to put on the end. Realised it didn't work, but if I shrunk them all down one more time, it did actually fit. So that was just me being a bit silly. And then at the back I didn't want to put another bush, so I decided to put some trees just to change it up a bit, make it overgrown's not quite the right word, but less. I keep using blocky, but I suppose it's the best I've got. Just a bit less blocky, and I wanted a tall tree to go through the middle, but it took me a moment to actually find that tree. And I decided, hang on, I've got a bit of space going on. Why don't I try and add some of the stuff to enable Sims to do laundry? Make it a bit more of a challenge for myself, because really the biggest issue I'd had was with decorating. So I'm trying out the different laundry baskets because I don't want to try and shrink them in case it doesn't work properly. I didn't really have room to do a proper laundrette, so whoever lives here is going back to the Stone Age and doing it all by hand, but it is what it is. So I found if I moved some of the so I moved the sink along, moved the boots along, I could just about squish a laundry basket in at the very end of the kitchen. Which then made me realise, it's a bit of playtesting, just to make sure the laundry basket was usable. I realised, hang on, I don't have a bin. Or, as you can see, a mailbox. So I had to go and try to figure out what mailbox to use. Found this one, which managed to somewhat blend in with the column, which I actually quite liked. And then I'm just like, where to put the bin? So I ended up moving the laundry basket next to the bed because my first thought was to put the bin there, and I realised who on earth wants to sleep next to a load of rubbish. So I'm just putting in the bins, just the last finishing touches, some terrain paint, and because it didn't make sense to just have that one solid footpath, I might as well have all of it paved. Then once I've put all the terrain paint down and just neatened up the outside a little bit, we'll hop into live mode and you can see what it looks like from the inside. So here we are in live mode, just looking up to the house. Sometimes I really wish that you could change the ceiling colours. But yeah, so there's the little cloakroom. We've got the bathroom here. Admittedly, you've got to come out for the sink, but it is what it is. And then little living, dining room, bedroom, bit of everything in once really, and the kitchen. Yeah, so I'll have it up on gallery already. So feel free to go and download. Once again, my username on gallery currently is Marvius. I do need to figure out how to change that to match the YouTube name. But yeah, if you like this, if you want to see more from me, please like and subscribe.